Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the Tarot Flow Show. The Tarot Flow Show where synchronicity is the star. And I'm your host, Alison Pickering, here in Los Angeles. And I am so thrilled, as always, to welcome my co-host from Stockholm, Sweden, the student of all things esoteric and fabulous. This is Kefri Scarabus. Welcome, Kefri.
Thank you, Alison. Nice to be here as always.
Nice to have you here. It's about noon here in Los Angeles. It's about 9 p.m. in Stockholm, and here in LA, not too far from us in the San Fernando Valley. Let's take a look at our special guest today. He is returning. He was one of our first guests on the show. He saved us when someone had a logistical problem and couldn't make the show. So we are especially fond of this writer, comedian, and performer and fellow mystical thinker. This is Ryan McGRANAHAN. Welcome, Ryan. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so nice to be back with you guys, and I was happy to fill in with short notice, but it's also it's nice to have a little bit more of a planned encounter as well, or a reading. So I'm very looking forward to this.
Absolutely. We all have a chance to get dressed, get it together, know what we're doing, not be acting on a phone call from 10 minutes ago. It's just fabulous. Yes. I see you have a backdrop in back of you with Echo Park, which is right down the street from here, but we're having the international experience today. Let's see what it's going to involve for you, Ryan. We're going to have a chance to meet you and talk to see what's up with you lately. We're going to unpack a random focus card here in the major arcana just to see what a single card will have in terms of its symbols. Then we're going to jump into a nice 7-card reading for Ryan to consider. And that's going to be our adventures for today. For those of you who like this sort of thing, come on down to AlisonPickering.com. We have offers, we have events, we have some travel happening in 2025, a couple cruises, and an Italy trip is what we're looking forward to. So let's do that together. Let's do this together today with Ryan. So let's have a chance to talk to you a bit and see what you're up to lately. What has been interesting in your life lately, Ryan?
A lot of things. It's a difficult summer and very much a feeling of rebirth in the fall. The house in our front yard, we have a pumpkin patch, and we've been growing blue pumpkins, and they actually turned out green. I think they need a soil nutrient that they weren't getting from us to turn blue, but we have some they're still growing, and we have seven or eight real solid pumpkins already, and there's a little bit more time left, so that's been a lot of fun. I've been I had some outside stresses over the summer that kind of delayed performing a little bit, so I've been throwing myself back into stand-up comedy.
Okay.
And my ability to I feel like a little bit it's not that the world's been small, but I sold my car after I witnessed a traumatic accident towards the end of 2023. I wanted to it wasn't forever, but I was going to stop driving for a while. It made me it just really drove home the responsibility of it. And I was like, I wanted to check out on that. So I've been walking and using public transit. And just within the past couple of weeks, I've been borrowing, my housemate has a Vespa, and I've been scooting around town on that. And Los Angeles on a sunny day, driving between North Hollywood to Friend and Echo Park or into regular Hollywood. I went up to Beechwood Canyon on the scooter this Sunday, and it was just it put joy in my heart. So I've been some big changes, and then also just some profound joy and simple pleasures on the wake of that. So that's kind of
wonderful. That's for me. It's a good balance just to remind you where the joy can be found, and may you have that much more of it. All right, well, let's jump in. You know the drill. You've been here before, so we're doing things a little bit differently than we've done before. So the Fool, he is the major archetype traveling through the journey of the soul here that we can see kind of very simplifiedly on the 3 rows. Top row, internal capacity, what you're born with, what you kind of grow up learning. In the middle row, the lessons of adulthood, the challenges, the things that we have to get over, get through, learn about. And then on the bottom, our states of consciousness. They really determine our reality. And then there's the idea of a travel through all the way through. And so the single wand held by the magician in the beginning is now the double wand held by the world card at the end. They are all the fool. We are all the fool. You know this. And so my question to you, Mr. Ryan, is among the 22, which make up these major arcana between the fool and the majors, which one shall we unpack today to just take a look at and see what all is into one particular tarot card? What number between 1 and 22 suits your fancy today?
13.
13. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And card number 13, Justice, La Justice. So let's take a look at that Justice card and see what all we can see in there. So of course, we are going to be like little accountants in a minute and start itemizing this card and listing all of its attributes and all of that kind of stuff. But before we get into that, let's very quickly talk about it more holistically. So Ryan, you know a little bit about tarot. And when you look at the Justice card, what are some of the first kind of just impressions or words that come to you as you think about the Justice card?
Definitely, I usually get drawn to the balance in the scales, where, that not only are the scales themselves balanced, but then the scales are balancing the sword. So there's like, the justice has equal capacity to evaluate a situation and then to act on it in some manner. And I think sometimes we see the justice as the proclamation the court makes, but it's also, that proclamation goes forth and has action in the world. And so I think, I noticed the figure, and, in tarot, we're generally taught to notice that unlike, human justice in front of our courts, we want the idea that justice is blind from our human prejudices, but this is more of a divine level. We want the all-seeing justice of a divine awareness of reality, sort of. But I also, to me, sort of the figure becomes secondary to sort of the instruments of the office in terms of where my gaze goes and focus.
Wow. Well, I'm out of a job. Beautiful. Well done. Well done. As you have noted so beautifully, there is so much in this card: the open eyes versus the closed eyes that we traditionally see in our statue, the squared off shape of the crown, and the square stone or jewel right in the middle of the forehead where the third eye would be. The idea of the balance, the golden light, and then the purple light. We have this idea of down the middle of the tree of light are the Sephirot, and the golden one is the beauty or the place of Christ consciousness in the middle. Below that is Yesod with the purple. We've got the green and the red on either sides of those, and the pathways. What other things should we be thinking about with the Justice card? We may have worked it all the way through, Kefri. What's left to talk about?
Astrologically, it's the star sign of Libra, and it is balance, of course, and there is the scales also that you were talking about, right? And there is the sword also, and this figure could also be said to be Archangel Michael, actually, and his work with balancing. And you was into the Kabbalistical things here, Alison, and the purple color there is a foundation in the Sephira of Yesod, and that is foundation, and it's universal law resting up on foundation, so to speak, that we can see. And then we can see the green and the red, that is the diagonal going from the Netzach Sephira up to the Gebura Sephira, and Also, we have the golden crown in the middle, and that is, of course, again, the beauty spot, the Tiferet. So it's like going both in a higher realm and going in a more worldly realm. It's both indicated in the color setting, actually, and the organization of the elements in the card.
Thank you. And we can't, of course, ignore the 2 columns because those are so inherent within the Tree of Life. Let's go ahead and show that Flower of Life image just so we can get a lot of colors for those who would like to see what we were referring to.
Let's see. There it is.
So there's that golden right in the middle, and then down below it, that purple, and then that diagonal line, right crossing over that golden between the red and the green. So this idea of balance. And then on the left, that red is about harshness. That's the pillar of harshness within the Kabbalah or within the Tree of Life. And then on the opposite side is the Tree of Mercy. And so the idea of balancing harshness and mercy and sitting in the middle and really feeling the balance of all of those forces is very much a part of that justice card. And let's also take a look over here to notice that among the numbers 1 through 21 of the major arcana, the justice card is smack in the middle. It is the hinge point, just as you noted, Ryan, that the balance is there with the scales, but the sword is also balancing. That's the idea also of the harshness or the consequence versus the comprehension of the situation and all the mitigating circumstances and all of that. All right. So thank you very much. Let's keep it rolling here and take a look at the suits of the minors. We can see the clubs on the left, the suit of intuition, the spark. We don't know where the ideas come from, but they come to us. Hopefully we respond. If those ideas are going to happen at all, then they have to be cared about. That's our cups, the emotional suit. Look at the quest in that knight down below. If those cared about things are going to come into fruition at all, they probably need to be planned out and sequenced and planned for in an intellectual way rather than just the amorphous feeling tone. And there's that idea and the plan of action with our knight down below. And then finally, it's going to take place in the 3D, in time. Time is so slow. It feels like it flies, but it really is quite slow. And that's the notion, bless you, the notion of our knight down below there is that sometimes we have to slow it down and just wait. And wait for things to grow, wait for things to take root, wait for things to go through their period of gestation. And so we, in the earth plane, with our 5 senses, like that 5-pointed star, are handling our lives in this medium of time for however long we have, which we never know. Here we go on this earth plane. So those are our minors. Here's our ones. Take a quick look at the 1 through 10 and the court cards with all the fire symbols. Here's our 1 through 10 and watery court cards in the cups. Here's our swords. Look at how difficult, if you remove the other faculties of emotion and let's say even the divine source from things, then our thinking alone can be very cutting, perhaps. Perhaps it's very dividing if it's not informed. Look at all the air symbols in those court cards. Let's take a look at the earth sign here, or the earth suit, I should say, with the pentacles, and then all those earth signs and symbols in the court cards. So that takes us then to our sufficiently complex but deceptively simple 7-card reading here, where we're going to take a look at whatever issue you direct us to, Ryan, on the top. We'll have a timeline kind of trajectory on the bottom, and then we'll have some cautionary advice at the top left, some supportive advice at the top right, and then towards the end of our little chit chat about these cards, we'll pull another card for some perspective. As you experienced before, I'm going to read more at the worldly, day-to-day, how does this play out in day-to-day life level with some psychology, and then Kefri's going to come on in and talk about the psychological and spiritual implications. We're kind of moving up the tree, so to speak, in our interpretations. How do these patterns play out? And then you're welcome, of course, Ryan, at any given time to offer your own interpretations, ask questions, do whatever, because we're just hanging out around the cards virtually today. So any questions, any focus for us today?
Yeah. I have a creative project that's been taking up a lot of psychic space in my head, and it's actually gotten to this place where it's like time to manifest it. And I've actually started writing it. So I'd like to ask sort of, things, advice and things to be aware of moving forward with that. And then sort of combined with that, there's like I know in Martinism, they call like the sort of initial state of humanity, they call it being man of the torrent, where you're like being swept away from by the current of life. And I feel like even though I can look back and see influence and choices I've made, like I definitely feel like a lot of my life feels like it's happened to me. And I'm at a point where I'm reevaluating things and getting over learned helplessness. And I kind of feel ready to really exert a lot of deliberate direction over what happens next. For the first time ever. And a lot of that coincides with this project, but it's just like, advice and caution for sort of manifesting a creative project, but also kind of taking that same sort of creative control over one's life.
All right. Well, this is a big reading. Let's see how the cards address a rather layered question here. Very cool.
And
actually, one thing
we can, I don't know if I don't know how you guys prefer to read, if that makes it harder having the compound question. I can split those into either one if that's better. Because that's what's on my mind, but I was like, that is big as that came out. I was like, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, the cards are going to give us what they give us anyway, so we're kind of at their mercy. Quick question for you. So I was just going to, as you were talking about that, I just want to mention something that I noticed in what you were talking about, and that's kind of a shift in perspective with the neuro-linguistic programming and other kinds of when you're thinking about your thinking, that kind of meta thinking. And that's what this is, a process of that as well. There's the idea of how do you operate through time? Do you move yourself? Like, are you operationally propelling yourself through time, or are you in a still place and time is washing over you? And it kind of feels like you were describing kind of a shift in perspective around your agency and time or something like that.
Did you around the Ecclesia Gnostica ever meet Bob Woodruff?
Perhaps
he has a song, and I think it's called "Not the Train," but it's the chorus goes, "Sometimes I feel like life's passing me by," but he goes, "I'm not the station, I'm not the stop, I'm the train."
There you go.
The train.
Yeah,
the part that,
beautiful.
I think about that all the time. I don't have an answer, but that's a thought that I spend a lot of time on.
Well, that's that exact concept put into a song. So well done, Bob Woodruff. Very good. So I'll have to look for that and praise him when I meet him, see him, and whatever next time. And the Martinism piece is very interesting as well, because aren't we always in a big storm of emotions? And so that's the monkey brain kind of thing. So perhaps that's another reference to the monkey brain. That's another term that we use. And so how do we calm the storm? How do we get to the eye of the hurricane so that we're not so, and that how do we get to the hub of the wheel of fortune so that we're not so jerked around? All those kinds of things. So let me stop talking now. Let's let the cards speak. Let's let Kefri speak. And I'm going to hand off to him in this card dealing process. Thanks for listening, everybody.
And I am shuffling the card, Ryan, and you say stop where you want it to be.
Stop.
There. And cutting, how many times do you want to cut if you want to cut?
2, please.
2. 1 and 2. Then we will see. We start with the subject card up in the middle, and that is the Chariot. Then we go down and look at the past card, and that is the 8 of Pentacles. And the present, and that is the Moon card. And the future, and that is the 8 of Wands.
I think this is hilarious. This is like you ordered it on a menu.
Yeah, and I think the Eight of Wands was in the last reading we did also, but I can be mistaken, but I think so. And the cautionary card is the Justice card.
Huh.
And the advice card is the Ten of Pentacles.
All right.
We wait with the Seventh card. There
And
we are.
meanwhile, Kefri, let's put up that Chariot card while you go to your decoding process.
Yeah,
We know we have with each of the major arcana, there is a corresponding Hebrew letter. And so now just with 6 cards, we've got 3 majors. So already let's notice the disproportionality of majors in this. So this is a big thing for you. So we're going to end up with a few families of words based on these Hebrew letters. With the L of the Justice, the sound, I think it's K from the Moon card, or K, back of the mouth K, and then I can't remember what the Chariot card is. So that one,
Chet.
Okay, thank you. So we'll leave that to your competent hands as we do our thing over here. So,
yeah,
you are the train, huh? Look at that. So that's why I was saying it's like you ordered this on a menu. So it's so lovely to have the kind of synchronicities like this. And so including the Justice card that we had a chance to unpack a little bit and then understand what direction is better to avoid, which is perhaps the idea of overthinking and trying to stay balanced when in fact, perhaps what you need to do is push or get some momentum like that train would have. So let's think about you in terms of that train or that chariot and that. Do you have any? Are you a Mason at all, Ryan? I can't remember last time if we talked about that at all. But
no, it's something I've been interested in, but
yeah, the reason I bring it up. It's not important to be one. It's not important to even be interested in it at all. But there is a concept within Masonry. Within observant Masonry anyway, that you go within to hew yourself from the stone. And this character, if you can notice, he's growing out of the stone. So we can say that this character has hewn himself from the stone or is in the process of doing that and he's got all of the tools at his disposal, including that magic wand that we highlighted at the beginning that the magician holds. And so this charioteer is also holding that. And the moon that's in the center position is on each of his shoulders with what we could also interpret would maybe be the masks of theater. And the personae that you put on as a mask to show people our folly and our tragedy and all of the things which we are barreling through as trains that we are, or as the fools that we are going through this mysterious life. And so you are making a move with this project and stepping out, shall we say, and defining yourself and establishing yourself and all these kinds of things which can be seen very solidly within this card. Let's take a look, Kefri, at the 2 8s, which are bookending the current situation. And so 8 being the number of both infinity when it's on its side and also of strength when it's in its position up. And then we also we're looking at that pillar of severity. And so there's a certain amount of, and the strength is also sitting squarely in between mercy and severity. So that card of strength, which is kind of the underlying hint in both of these 8 cards, is this idea of mustering and mastering both the receptive and active sides of yourself, both the sensitive as well as the driven parts of yourself. Those aren't necessarily opposites, but they're aspects. And so you've been hammering out a physical product to represent your hewing of the self. And so who are you? You've been hammering out this kind of self-definition that you're going to step out with in your piece, in your performance piece, which I'm sure will be genre bending in some way because you are, and your life is, and your interests are. And so that's probably why it's hard to figure out, is because you want to do something really interesting with it is what I would predict. And so you can be proud of what you've produced so far, and you should keep working on it, because the worker is hidden in the workshop is something that Marcus Katz is a sign off that he said. And so the work is the person. The worker is hidden in the workshop. By our work are we transformed. And so by your work are you transformed in this summer of trauma and self-definition, shall we say. We are now into the autumn, perhaps not your discontent. That'll be the winter. And then that's just a joke. That's just a literary joke. We're not predicting anything like that for Ryan. But what we can say and what we can predict is probably what you're going through right now. Is you talked about what a weird summer this has been. And so the idea that it's not necessarily been everything, nothing has been very straightforward, shall we say. It's all been rather fraught. And like with any kind of creative project, if you're stepping out and showing yourself off to people, you're risking rejection. And so that's always a big risk and a big adventure and a big thing. Let me just give my husband some privacy there while he takes out the trash. So the moon card. Let's take a look, Kefri, at that moon card. So we see that Ryan's been working and he's been cranking it out and he's been perfecting his work and he's been refining his work. And all of this is leading to, it's interesting, from the 8 to the 9 to the 8 again. So this being inherently, this is 18. 1 and 8 is 9. Yeah, okay. So this is a 9. Numerologically, this moon card is very much related to the Hermit card. And so it's no big shock that while spending time alone in your creative process, you're going to be like, howling, maybe crying, probably crying, because as one plumbs one's depths for what one is going to show to the world, you're looking at your depths. And that's deep stuff. And so there's your wild self, there's your tame self, there's your unconscious self, and they're all coming up to get some moon, not so much some sun, but they're all coming up to get some moonlight, some spotlight, some traction. All of this is giving you traction in your own path. This is your path. And there are our towers again, the pillars of the tree of life there that justice card is sitting in the middle of. You are now traversing in that long path to you don't know where, because you don't really know how this performance thing is going to play out either. But I think you should really give it your all and put faith in it and really get wild is what I'm going to say in this thing. And then and as you decide to take off the censorship, as you remove your self-censorship from this, things are going to really start flowing. The ideas are really going to start flowing. I encourage you to kind of consider some maybe non-dominant hand stuff or some writing or some, just to kind of get into what comes out of you when you get your ego out of the way and when you get your 8 of coins out of the way. What comes through from your 8 of wands? What comes through from your higher aspect or your less conscious aspect in this process? And then let's take a look at that 8 of wands real quickly, Kefri, if you don't mind. And so as you do that, what is on your bench will begin to start to take flight. And will begin to align for you and will begin to show where it needs to come in the flow of things and how it's going to work together and how this whole thing is going to come in, how you're going to bring it in. And so as you let loose as you get rid of the censorship internally, things are going to start lining up for you, which is great. And so let's take a look at that justice card, because I think that this is representing your conscious mind and how you can perhaps get in your own way when you want to come across as smart and you want to come across as deep as you are, and yet there's silliness in the show and there's some crazy shit in the show, excuse my language, but all of that is part of who you are, and all of that is part of the wholeness of who you are. And so don't take yourself so seriously that you shut down the joy and the laughter, because as much as we might strive to be, this is an 11, this is also the priestess, as much as we might strive to be wise and all-knowing and all these things, most people aren't hanging out with the judge for fun. Most people would rather hang out with the family for fun. So let's look at that 10 of Cups. And so you gotta kind of embody all of the voices. So maybe that's a hint for your show for characters. Maybe this is about different aspects of who you have been over the, so rather than trying to show yourself off as your current wise self, maybe what you're going to do is show all of the different aspects of your own, either development of yourself or family or phases of your life or something like that. So kid Ryan, animal Ryan, grandpa Ryan, mommy Ryan, daddy Ryan, house Ryan, Italian Ryan, whatever the varieties are. You can see all of the different aspects here. And the cloak upon this grandfather figure is very ornate and gorgeous. And it's a cloak of many colors. And so maybe this is Ryan of the cloak of many colors. And so that would be a really beautiful thing. And in that, it will be a much better representation of your wholeness than trying to portray yourself as Mr. Smarty. And so let go of your need to be perceived as intelligent and embrace your everyman nature and the fact that everybody can relate to some craziness and you can show them yours and it'll be fun. So that's what I'm seeing here. And I'm, of course, orienting this to your performance because that's what you had requested in terms of the cards. And I think they served it up quite well in terms of my opinion. I'm going to quiet down now and let Kefri have his pass at these cards because he'll take a different interpretation, I think. And then you'll have both of these for you.
Yeah. And Alison, you were saying the 10 of Cups and it's the 10 of Pentacles, but I think...
Thank you very much. Yes.
But it was something in that Freudian wrong thing there, I think.
As there always is. What's the Freudian slip? When you say one thing and you mean your mother? Is that the one?
Yeah, it could be, but the 10 of Cups there has some similarities here in a peculiar way, I believe. But if I look at this and if I look at it connected to the question and this performance and this project and everything will be a victory. And this will also be it's a performance that will allow an area to explore something new, actually. And this something new is deeper than you are planning for it to be, Ryan. Because this will be a sort of an awakening of you at the same time, actually. And you have been working hard on this one, actually, and you have also spent a lot of resources for it and everything, and that is good. And now you are in this moon card here, where you are starting to think, oh, have I done it right? Is it right? Should I do it? And that will go on, actually, but the thoughts will be more logical, and then they will be deeper, actually, with this 8 of Wands here, and they will also be supported from a divine force, I can say, straight out. You will get a lot of inspiration if you go deeper in this also. And The justice card here is interesting because you don't have to strive for a balance in this. It doesn't need that you are thinking every moment, oh, have I enough laughter? Have I enough cry, so to speak, with those theatrical figures there that you were talking about, Alison, because this will balance itself. And that is also the Ten of Pentacles here. It will balance itself, and it will be a success actually, and it will also give you more resources to build your own life and to build further performances also actually. And it's a lot of clearness in these cards actually. It's nothing enigmatic at all. The answer is here clear in the cards, and it's opened also, so it's interesting. And also in the middle of all this, there is a big development of you in this also, because you will be able to see the full scale of life here with both light and dark, with that chariot here with the two sphinxes here that drives the wagon, but they are not connected to the wagon. So it's like, or the chariot, and it's like it is your contact with higher thoughts that will drive this thing, this project actually, because you will stand quite still in this. You will be quite still in this square that you will be creating for yourself actually. And this show will be more than you are thinking of. And the words here also is very talkative about that actually, because we have 3 major arcana cards here, but actually we have 4 major arcana cards, because the 7th card that I will not reveal just yet is also a major arcana card, but I will reveal the words actually. And I think we had this constellation in an earlier reading also, and the 3 major arcana cards among the 6 cards is what you know now, but the 7th is the extra that is coming into this actually. And the words here are farm and part and herring. And the herring, I think, is about hiding something in this show that will not be open to people to grasp immediately, and you will not tell about it either, but you will hide it in there, and that is something deeper actually that is in hide there, and that will come to you actually. And the next word is to the law, and that is connected to the justice card, that you can look at the law, but as I said, you don't have to strive for a balancing action all the time here, but you can look at to the law, so to speak, the universal, the higher law. And it could also be in that you will be given inspiration and things when you are following the law here actually, that wanting to build in something in this project. And then we have another group of words that are the lesson, moral, learning, teaching, and instruction. And that is again about you will be given the inspiration to build in what should be built in this mission. And then we have a group of words that are cob, steam, stalk, and yet. And this will go very fast when your inspiration, intuition starts to serve this to you actually. And it will also be a steam inside of the show, so to speak, that will be living its own life there.
Was that like a stem or a stalk, did you say?
It's a stem, it's a steam, and it's a stalk and a jet. So it's a stream actually that goes through it all. And also we have an Hebrew word in here that is meaning assembly and community. And that is something here that this show will be something more than it is presented as, actually, that as I have been saying. And this is the things that you know or have to know now. And now I involve the 7th card here, and then we have 2 words here, and the first one is going down, so to speak, what is coming from the higher realms down to you. And there are 2 words here, and that is that share, and then herring comes back here again. So share what you should share in this, but do it in a sort of a hidance in plain sight, so to speak. And that is also connected to the chariot here with all the Masonic symbology, secret symbology and everything in it. And that area also to develop inside of, because that's the stage, that's the show actually. And the other word that is going up, so to speak, how you look at it, that word is a whisper. So this should just be like a whisper in hide, in plain sight, actually. And the 7th card is the judgment card, actually. So there we have that one.
Oh, standing ovations. No, this is beautiful, because this whole thing is waking you up. You're going to have the opportunity to wake other people up, and you're going to be able to carry a lot of content that's personal as well as universal. And so that's the idea of, so those words that were in here. So we have the idea of kind of like that red herring, or the kind of little nugget hidden in plain sight for people, the idea of following the law. So there's probably some formats and some conventions of theater that you should probably follow, just to give people what they're expecting as far as a flow, and so that they feel comfort in the structure. And then the idea of extra coming in, the jet and the jet stream. So this is going to be a big accelerator for you, which we can certainly see in both the 8 of Wands there. That's a big accelerator card, as well as an economic accelerator with that 10 of Pentacles, which will then bring in some validation that this world is supporting the idea that you're waking people up as well. So this is going to be, it's going to wake you up and help wake other people up. Kefri, how do you see this judgment card?
I see this card as a presentation of what I was talking about, because there is actually something in plain sight in this card. And I won't say what it is actually, but I will say what it is. And
I know what it is. Ooh.
Yeah, it's the light, actually. It's the higher light that we can produce to the higher realm, actually. So it's the higher light, and that is what you will be doing by hiding it in this show, actually. So that is in the card here. And those people that are standing here looking up to the angel is actually producing that higher light in this card. That's one of the secrets of this card, actually. And this card is also a beginning of something, a beginning of a walk up to something higher, actually. And the element of this card is primary fire. And that is the fire that was creating this world from the beginning. And it's the fire of the alchemical tria prima element, so to say. It's sulfur actually in alchemy, I believe, and that is in here. So this is wrapping it all up, so to say, wrapping all the reading up in this card, and the symbol for this, the letter in this card, because it's the Shin letter, the fiery letter, and the symbol for that is a teeth. So it's like letting them chew it, so to speak. It's like serving a meal without telling you are serving it, so to speak. That is what I can say about the card.
Good. So you're going to slip them a Mickey, so to speak, in this show, right? But not to make them unconscious. This is actually the Mickey to make them conscious. And so that's pretty cool. Yes, indeed. All the wonderful things. A couple of things numerologically, maybe to track in here. So this overall card is the 20. That's a 2. That's also similar to that High Priestess card. And so it's interesting to look at the other one that numerologically makes a 2 is that Justice card. But that's the recommendation against. And so it's like you don't want to. You're not going to hit them over the head with it. They're going to come to their own conclusions. So you're not going to show them, hey, this is the thing, but rather they're going to come in there at the end of it. They're going to go, oh my God, that was the thing. And then they're going to jump to their feet. And so that's beautiful. And so I wish you much success with this. I think it's a very beautiful reading. And I think that it will be a wonderful, not a winter of discontent, but rather a winter of really discovery and of awakening and of an opportunity for you to really speak and be heard.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So that's the tarot flow for you today, Mr. Ryan.
Well, boy, I couldn't be happier. I feel like that was mind-blowing, both in its precision and also in how affirming it all felt. And I started laughing when you recommended some non-dominant hand stuff because I just started with this woman who she teaches a course on how to regain the power of your dominant hand if you were trained out of it. And like I'm left-handed, but I was right in school, and so like I've just and her conclusion is that that you have the ability, or that it's possible, but also necessary if you were forced to convert to lean back into your other hand. And I don't know if I'm going all the way, but I'm journaling pretty regularly with the left hand these days. And so that made me laugh because it's like, that's a good reminder to keep leaning into that's because that was a recent discovery of mine. And I love that that's in the cards because, so much of it all is when you really look.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the reason I got on that is I don't know that I'm familiar with her work, but the idea it was called Drawing from the Left Side of the Brain, or Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain, and or it was Drawing with Children, one of those. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the idea being that there were many examples of just really good work when you intentionally use your non-dominant hand. And then there were a number of case studies that she had of people who, for example, had an injury. And let's say you're an athlete, had an injury, broke his right arm, and then had to do everything with the left. And all of a sudden discovered like whole new aspects of his personality and of his ambition and all that stuff. Go ahead.
I was able to skim it. I think that book's called The Power of the Other Hand.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but if anyone listening is interested in tracking it down, I think that's the title of that book, because that seems very similar to something I came across. So.
Well, again, it's not a concept that is too arcane. It's pretty familiar with people, and it's very accessible because we all can do it, and we probably all have done it at some point or another. And then when you look at the stuff that comes out, you're like, who the hell is that? What voice is that? And so that's an interesting thing to explore when you're looking at that kind of comedy, tragedy, and all of the different aspects of our personalities that we show off in the dramatic context and in the theatrical context. Because that's how we live vicariously as humans, through that performance, And so you're going to be offering people a chance to consider themselves with depth the way you have done, and perhaps other people haven't ventured into yet. Maybe yours is going to be the opener for them to be able to venture into their own selves, and that's a good thing. So again, much success to you, Ryan. I can't wait to have you back in a few more months and see what is new at that point.
I would love to follow up on this one, because
yeah.
I feel really inspired, and this was fantastic.
Oh yeah, and I hope that you'll keep me in the loop in terms of when this thing gets onto Los Stages in Los Angeles.
I sure will.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ryan McGRANAHAN, Kefri Scarabus, thank you so much for joining us today on the Tarot Flow Show. That is us, right? Is that where we are today? We are. And so Alison Pickering, Kefri Scarabus, Ryan McGRANAHAN, thank you so much for joining us today. And we wish everybody all the best in all of your tarot travels and anywhere that life might take you. We'll see you soon. And all the best to you, Ryan. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you so much.